and you don't go back to face justice. Nothing's touched me like this. We have to help law enforcement take these cowards down. This is the most important job we've ever had. And you know what? We'll go wherever it takes to find these cowards. Why do you want them caught?
I'm just hoping he'll get caught so then he won't harm any other innocent people.
Now, these guys are going in after a convicted rapist. Man, these guys risk their lives all the time.
America's Most Wanted. Help save Elizabeth.
Okay, let's go. Let me tell you something, bro. You're in big, big trouble. From the very beginning, we set out on a dark, lonely road, a road we still follow on our long journey for justice. Well, tonight that journey winds into our 23rd season, and it's been a really amazing ride, even with all of the bumps and sudden twists that we've seen along the way. It's a lot like the journey taken by a brave woman we met down in Texas, who had to deal with a whole string of emotional turns that she never saw coming. One of those turns came on April 8th, 2008 in downtown Brenham, Texas. That was the day Sandra Lopez saw a familiar truck streak by.
Oh my God.
I told my friend, I said, Pam, that's Manuel. He had 5 to 6 police vehicles behind him.
Manuel Lopez was in very big trouble, and his wife Sandra could only watch. Just weeks before, they seemed to have everything they wanted. 2 solid careers, 3 beautiful, healthy kids, and their very own dream house.
Hey, you guys finish up, okay? Finish it all.
Do you have the peanut butter?
But like so many working parents, they struggled finding just the right daycare for their
Don't
children.
forget your jacket, okay?
Let's go.
Bye, Dad.
Luckily, they could rely on a family friend, Bernie Figueroa. She ran a daycare center where their youngest child, 2-year-old Alexia, loved to play.
So much for separation anxiety, at least for her.
Bernie was actually a good friend of our family. I thought my kids would be in good hands there.
Here's fine, you know that. Okay, thanks.
So I left Alexia there, just like any regular day, and I went on to work. When I came back to pick her up at 5 o'clock, I noticed that she wasn't breathing right. I asked Bernie, what's wrong? And her response was that Alexia had been throwing up.
Yes, she's having.
And I called her pediatrician.
It's very labored.
And I told him, it doesn't seem like it's getting any better.
The emergency room?
He said, Sandra, it looks like she's having an asthma attack. You need to take her in.
We're almost there, Mija. Just, well, Teddy, you're gonna be okay. They said that she threw up this morning and she's having trouble breathing.
I need her now, all right?
She's gonna be okay, right?
Hold the bear.
You'll be back, baby. It's okay. It's okay.
All right, okay.
You're gonna be okay.
I need her
Mommy's
now.
gonna be right
We need
here.
to go. We need to go.
You're gonna be okay, baby. You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay, Alexia. You're gonna be fine, baby.
I just knew at that point, it's something worse. Something is wrong. It's not just an asthma attack. Alexia's real sick.
Each passing moment was torture, not knowing what was wrong with their little girl.
She's gonna be okay. She's gonna be okay, right? Tell me she's gonna be okay.
Mr. and Mrs. Lopez, we need to talk.
The doctor said,
It's not.
Sandra Alexia just passed away. We tried to resuscitate her,
We did what we could.
but her heart gave up.
Doctors determined Alexia died from a vicious blow to her midsection that separated her large intestine from her small intestine.
What happened to you?
Just moments after hearing that their daughter was likely murdered, Sandra and Manuel were questioned by police.
The police didn't get involved.
Any case where this baby is not alive, we're gonna rule it as a homicide until we find different. So you start with the people that are closest to the child, which is usually the parents.
You think we killed our daughter?
I didn't say that, Mr. Lopez. Look, I can't begin to understand how you're both feeling right now. And no, I don't necessarily think that.
As far as Manuel, the first thing I saw, he was holding a teddy bear.
We're gonna need to ask both of you some questions separately.
He wasn't really crying much, but I could tell that he was in pain.
The grieving parents answered all of Detective Powell's questions, but their nightmare wasn't over. As a precaution, Child Protective Services was called to remove the Lopez's 2 remaining children.
I don't want to.
Stay strong, okay?
I know Gabby especially took it very hard. She was crying and didn't want to go.
I want to see Alexia.
To have to explain to your kids that you have to go with these people, strangers, it's hard. They didn't know what was going on.
But Sandra and Manuel weren't the only people under suspicion. Cops were also interested in the last person to see Alexia before her injury, her daycare provider, Bernie Figueroa. When police brought her in to shed light on the case, Figueroa, shown here during the actual interview, remained very evasive.
Well, we saw some inconsistencies with different things. We had a general idea that she was lying to us.
After 2 long interviews with Figueroa, cops cleared Sandra and Manuel as suspects, and their 2 children were returned home. Detective Powell was confident that his prime suspect was Bernie Figueroa, but just as police were about to file capital murder charges against her, Figueroa took off.
I don't know if I was angry or if my sadness for losing my daughter was stronger. I remember telling my husband about it, and he was just more angry.
It's like she never left.
It's not like that at all.
At that time, I don't think his sadness took over. It was a lot of anger.
What's wrong with Daddy?
Yeah, it was a lot of anger. He would sleep out in the cemetery with Alexia. I mean, that was his baby. He loved her with all his heart.
Sandra feared Manuel's simmering emotions would reach a boiling point. And they did on April 8th, 2008, after he was pulled over for erratic driving.
Roll your window down. I need you to roll your window down.
Why don't you and your department just catch real fugitives instead of messing with me, huh?
Sir, back in the truck. I need your license and registration.
Or what, huh? It's not like you people can do anything.
Get back in your truck. Hey, roll your window down. This is Patrol Unit 976. I'm in pursuit of a black pickup truck. Southbound on Academy. I need a backup.
Thanks for lunch. I really needed it. Oh my God, it's Manuel.
My immediate reaction is to call Detective Powell.
It's Sandra Lopez. Please, you have to help me. I just saw Manuel in downtown Brennan. He's being chased by police vehicles.
Just calm down.
Please talk to them. Tell him not to hurt him. He hasn't been himself lately.
Sandra?
I was going as quick as I could. I'm on the phone with Sandra. I'm on the radio with the responding units, and I'm trying to get there.
Several law enforcement agencies took over the pursuit. Manuel's erratic driving could cause a fatality. He wasn't slowing down. Action had to be taken. You'll see what went down when we come back. Manuel Lopez was a desperate man. He and his wife Sandra were still reeling after the murder of their daughter Alexia and the disappearance of her accused killer, Bernie Figueroa. Now Manuel's anger had gotten the best of him, and there was no telling what he would do next.
We gotta stop this guy now. I'm gonna take out his tire.
by the time the pursuit ended, he was okay. I just think his mind was all in a different place. And when they had to take him to jail, I went with him. I sat and I talked with him. I stayed there with him. I tried to calm him down.
But you've got 2 other kids, Manuel, and you've got a wife. They can't afford to lose you too.
Manuel spent a night in jail, was fined for his dangerous actions, and released.
Have I made myself clear?
But back home, with their daughter's alleged killer still on the run, he and Sandra continued to battle their darkest emotions. Anger, frustration, deep depression, and despair. I know firsthand. When my son Adam was murdered, I felt them all. Your child is gone, your whole world's upside down, and there's a giant hole in your heart that can't be filled. So what do? Well, I decided to try to channel my emotions into fighting back and taking action. And I'm very proud to say that this program helped Sandra make a similar decision.
It was a Saturday night. I watched the America's Most Wanted show, and the story that I saw, I think, was what touched me the most. A 5-year-old little girl was raped and murdered.
It was the story of the still unsolved murder of Ariana De Jesus and how her mother, Moda, chose to celebrate her child's life every year on the anniversary of her death.
I remember she has a big cookout to celebrate her life, and the singing and the release of the balloons. And just to see the mother, and I felt what she was going through. I knew what she was going through. And it was that day that I said, I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna do what I have to do, and I don't care what it takes.
Sandra has made it her mission to help cops track down Bernie Figueroa.
Can I ask for a babysitter?
And Manuel has been right there to help her. Together, they've traveled to border towns like Laredo, Texas, to spread the word of Alexia's murder and find out if anyone has seen Figueroa, who cops believe may have fled to Mexico.
Sandra has transformed. When I first met Sandra, I dare say she was timid. She was very withdrawn.
¿Le puedo dar un folleto? Mire, esta señora, ¿saben algo? Usted se lo puede entregar a...
I've seen her go from timid to angry to focused. And I think that's where she is now. She's focused. She has a goal. Alexia was never mine to begin with. God let me borrow her. It wasn't for as long as I wish he would have let me borrow her. And he needed her back for some reason. I know he's taking care of her very good, but I miss her a lot.
Sandra, I know the pain never really goes away. It just gets more bearable as time passes, and you never get over the loss. You can never forget. But I also know that our viewers really want to help you find Figueroa tonight. So, Bernie Figueroa is a native Honduran. She speaks no English and she doesn't drive. Cops believe she may have crossed the border into Mexico, but she still could be hiding in Texas or anywhere in the southwestern United States. So if you've seen her, leave your tip at our hotline, 1-800-CRIME-TV. We've got Spanish-speaking operators, and we guarantee your anonymity. We can also have you leave your tip online at our website, amw.com. And while you're there, please check out our online safety center, where you'll find some really sound advice about choosing a babysitter or daycare provider. As we all know, that's a huge decision, and the important info you'll find at amw.com can help you make it wisely.
Up next, an 8-year-old girl is ripped from her home and brutally attacked. Hear her unbelievable tale of survival and see how you can help her fight for justice. And later,
he had no fear. If the horse wanted to flip over backwards, he didn't care.
when it came to horses, they say he had the magic touch. But when it comes to people, cops say he has a deadly one.
I'm the mother of Lily Aramburo. Lucely Aramburo is his complete name. and I've been looking for her for 2 years. We are in Miami, Florida, in subdivision Coconut Grove. This is where Lily became missing. This has been a nightmare. Lily is my only daughter. I miss her so much, and she also has a baby that was just born, 6 months old. This is Lily when she disappeared. The baby was 6 months old, and she was the happiest mother in the world. She really loved her kid. She will never, ever leave him behind. So I'm begging for anybody that knows anything about Lily. You guys need to come forward. This is a person, this is a daughter, this is a mother. I need to find my daughter, and I need to find my grandson's mother. He needs his mother. He needs to know what happened to her.
I know exactly how that family feels, but not knowing really is the hardest part. So let's get them the answers they need real soon. Now, you're about to meet one incredible woman, a woman who's traveled down a really tough road that I wouldn't wish on anyone. It's a wonder she survived, but she has, and now she's raising her voice to bring her story to others and finally get some justice for herself.
Go back to bed, baby.
Oh, it's keeping me up.
Jen, baby, I have to work in the morning. Jen, I mean it. Please, go to bed.
Okay, I'm going. Good night, Mom.
I remember going into my bedroom and getting out my piggy bank and some books. I didn't know that my life was going to change that night forever.
Shut up! Now, I'm gonna uncover your mouth right now. Do not scream, okay? Don't worry.
He told me he was an undercover cop.
I'm an undercover cop. I know your mommy and daddy. Do you understand?
He was telling me things about knowing my family members.
See the moon? You keep an eye on that moon. When it turns colors, that means your mom's gonna come pick you up, okay? Quit your crying, man. Well, the moon isn't changing. And it doesn't look like your mom's gonna come and get you, does it?
He pulled down my panties. He raped me in the front seat of his car.
You know, you have a very pretty. Nick. You know that?
I remember being taken out of the car and made to go into this field.
Come on, stop.
I probably blacked out.
Get up! Up! Good night, little girl.
Jennifer, come on, baby. You need to go to work.
I knew something was wrong with me because I could see cars going through the blades of grass, and I would try to yell and I couldn't hear myself saying anything. And I didn't know my throat had been slit at this point, and I couldn't sit up. And here these fire ants were just swarming all over my body, just eating on me, stinging me everywhere. It would have been so easy if I would have just been able to get up and run to that house that was right there. Knowing that help was right there and not being able to get to it is the most awful feeling you could ever experience.
1, 2, 3, 20, 50, 80, 99, 100. You're out. Oh my God. That's Jen.
It was a hard recovery for that first year, healing from everything, and I had to have blood transfusions from this and surgeries for scar tissue. He cut me from ear to ear, and the scar was very, very red for a long time. The nurses were telling the police officers that I would probably not be able to speak. Apparently he had cut through my windpipe, my voice box, and all that, and so I had no voice. That didn't last very long. I proved the doctors wrong when I started screaming in the hospital because I was upset over not getting a chocolate bar from the gift shop downstairs in the hospital.
Jennifer's survival was nothing short of a miracle. But the story's far from over. That's because the monster who attacked her has never been caught or even identified. Although the case went cold, Jennifer never gave up her search for justice. Recently, the FBI teamed up with the Dickinson, Texas police to refocus on this cold case. Jennifer's been able to help investigators do something that no one else can: go back in time.
So this is where you were going to? Where he was taking you?
Yes, this is where he dragged me through all of that brush up to this point here.
Jennifer is here and is able to meet with us, and she is able to give us information, and she's able to help us and guide us through the investigation with things that she remembers and saw and heard and felt.
being dragged to, this direction.
Even with an amazing survivor providing so many details, the investigators still have so little to go on. A sketch of a suspect, a vague description from a little girl of an old blue car, a description of the route her attacker took that day, and the place where he left her to die.
There was actually a dog that was also barking.
Jennifer meets with the investigators whenever she can, but she knows how important it is for other people to hear her story as well. And that really motivates her.
I survived for a reason. I'm here. I'm going to use my voice that was taken from me and tell everyone that I can that I'm a survivor. And I want to make sure that I use my voice for the purpose that it was given back to me, and I believe it was to help other people. Come on, Ken.
There you go.
Jennifer looks for opportunities like this to use her voice. A Citizens Police Academy in her hometown of League City, Texas. Cops set it up to teach ordinary citizens about police work.
We can make entry.
Jennifer uses it to teach the cops and her neighbors about what it takes to survive a violent crime.
I want to be able to help those kids or help those adults that have been raped and telling them my story and showing them that I grew stronger from it.
As strong as she's become, not a day goes by when Jennifer doesn't ask herself, why me? But she truly believes she will one day get the answer she deserves, and that the coward predator who left her to die will face justice.
And I will look for him and help look for him until my last dying breath, if I have to. I hope it doesn't take that long, because I think I've waited long enough.
You know, Jennifer, you're such a courageous lady, and your story is amazing. I know you're trying to get justice for yourself, but you're also trying to prevent this creep from hurting other little girls. He has that potential, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. That's my motivation. I don't want him hurting anyone else.
It's been a long time. How long?
19 years as of August 10th.
Angry coward of a man who took out his frustrations and probably his inability to function or have a relationship with any adult woman on an 8-year-old girl. One of those creeps. And this is what he looks like now? Is this an age-enhanced photo?
This is the age progression photo that we just did.
Now, did you sit down with cops 19 years ago and come up with a composite?
Yes.
Were there any hits on the composite?
I think there has been some people that have been ruled out in the past, but we haven't had any leads in a really long time.
What would you like to see happen with this guy this week?
I have faith that someone will call in, someone will remember something. I always think that maybe he might have confessed to someone 19 years ago that was his friend, and they're probably not friends anymore. And I hope that someone has the courage to call in, because this would be life-changing for me and for all of those other innocent girls out there that he might have harmed.
This guy needs to be caught. You need justice. Your strength has been incredible. God bless you. I know you're trying to change things.
I am.
And this creep should have been in jail 19 years ago.
Coming up. In the world of horse racing, he was making quite a name for himself.
Everybody thinks they can ride horses, you know, these guys do, but they can't. And once we was around the world a little bit, you thought, well, they weren't lying. He knows what he's doing.
But you'll see how he went from the winner's circle into the middle of a murder mystery. Next.
Now some fugitives who deserve their 15 seconds of shame. Cops in Plainfield, New Jersey say welder Morente Dubon beat a man to death with a pipe during an argument. He goes by the name Dario and could be working in the scrap metal business. In Illinois, convicted sex offender Herman Carroll is charged with another disgusting crime, molesting a young girl. Carroll is a skilled carpenter specializing in trim work. His tattoos include the name Joanne. He could still be in Florida. Harold Dean Thompson is an Oklahoma pharmacist accused of illegally selling pseudoephedrine pills, the main ingredient in meth. He collects lighthouse figurines and might be in Red River, New Mexico. New York cops say Gifton Michael Cousins fatally stabbed a fellow caddy on a golf course. Cousins is known as Mike the Canadian because of his ties to Toronto. He could also be in his native Jamaica. Now that they've had their 15 seconds of shame, you know what to do. If you've seen any of these fugitives, call our hotline at 1-800-CRIME-TV. In a horse race, the way to the finish line is very clear. But the road to justice is rarely so well defined. Our next story takes us into a world of horse racing few have ever seen. A world where someone can easily disappear. And cops in Indiana believe that one man they're chasing is trying to do just that. Indiana isn't the first place you think of when it comes to horse racing. But its tracks are quickly picking up speed and even giving at least one famous Kentucky rival a run for its money. Indiana's success is also drawing in some of the best pros. All of them jockeying for a chance to cash in on a champion. In 2004, Raul Cruz stepped onto Southern Indiana horse farms for the first time to work as an exercise rider.
It's like a physical therapist. To get the horses fit, you know, they take them out there and exercise them and tell you if they feel bad or feel good, and they mean a lot to a trainer.
Raul came highly recommended to veteran trainer Doug Ham at the Wheeler Farm. Some say Raul had a magic touch.
Come on, vamos. Vamos, caballito.
Everybody thinks they can ride horses, you know, these guys do, but they can't. And once we was around Raul a little bit, you thought, well, they weren't lying. He knows what he's doing. He had no fear. If the horse wanted to flip over backwards, he didn't care. And that's pretty unique in its own right.
Raul had crossed the border into the States from Mexico as a teenager, alone and broke. But here's where this illegal immigrant steers away from the stereotype. Raul didn't have to settle for low wages.
He always had a lot of money. He would probably make $500-600 a week just messing around.
Doug and Raul were neighbors on the farm.
Raul lived here in this apartment here. My house is right here to the right of it.
Even though they lived only steps apart, Doug didn't know much about his neighbor.
You know, I mean, I didn't have conversations that much with him. It wasn't none of my business. I didn't know.
The farm where Doug and Raul lived is set deep off a country road, a picture postcard of Middle America.
I used to not lock my doors. You could walk right into my house anytime.
But on May 25th, 2005, that serenity was shattered.
Early in the morning, between 7 and 8, get up and do my normal things in the morning. I heard a noise outside, and I looked out the window and I thought, well, it's just a cat. I always go down to the first barn to feed in the mornings early, and I got halfway down the road and heard the dog barking, turned around and looked over my shoulder and seen somebody laying on the grass. I could tell the person was struggling getting up. I figured it was somebody drunk. And I assumed it was Raul because there was nobody else ever back in there in that area. This is the area that we found him in back here. His head was big as a pumpkin, his teeth and everything all knocked out, blood everywhere.
And actually, when we first got there, we really couldn't tell what race he was, whether he was Hispanic or white male due to the swelling and the trauma that his head and face had received. As far as this being done from the hands of one person to another, it was by far the most traumatic injuries I've ever seen inflicted on a person. It wasn't one or two hits. It was a prolonged assault.
A prolonged assault with the most unlikely of weapons.
This was the bedpost that was matched up to the wounds by the medical examiner, and counting the injuries on the body, it was very easily over 20. Common sense would just say that he's holding onto it similar like a baseball bat and wielding it that way.
From the bloody scene that remained, it was clear that the beating took place just steps from Raul's apartment.
You could see a lot of the blood and everything back here in this corner of this sidewalk had a lot of blood on it. You could find handprints on the parts of the barn where he struggled. He must have walked up there and tried to get up along the side of the barn.
As the medical examiner worked on a positive ID, she knew the victim's tattoos would help. But they turned out to be a more important clue than anyone thought. That's because Raul Cruz didn't have any tattoos. Now cops suddenly had a puzzle on their hands. If their murder victim wasn't Raul Cruz, then who was he? And who killed him? And where the heck was Raul Cruz? The surprising answers are coming up. Cops in Indiana say Valerie Sue Castellano robbed a bank, then fled with her 3 young children. Call if you've seen her. Now, before the break, we told you about a man named Raul Cruz, an exercise rider who made a name for himself in Indiana horse racing circles. But early one morning in the spring of 2005, Cruz's neighbor went to check out some noises he heard outside. That's when he stumbled upon a man he thought was Cruz, passed out in a drunken stupor. But the man wasn't drunk. He'd been beaten to death, and cops quickly discovered their victim wasn't Raul Cruz. So, who was it, and who killed him? It was a real murder mystery, but it wasn't too long before cops got a big break in the case. It happened when the family of a local man who'd vanished went to the police. The tattoos they described on the missing man matched exactly the tattoos on the body found on the farm. His name was Ronald Miller, a lost soul who found solace working with horses.
He hot walked, he took care of the horses, and he loved horses. He loved them. In fact, as long as he was with the horses, he was happy.
No one at the Wheeler farm had heard of Ronald Miller, but cops learned he did have one friend on the farm, Raul Cruz.
Hey, don't work too hard.
No, I won't, amigo.
They knew each other from working together in the past. I think they were drinking buddies as well for a while.
Detectives wanted to ask Raul about Ronald, but he was gone.
He left pretty much everything. Clothes, TVs, he just up and left.
As cops looked for Raul Cruz, they found instead some very disturbing information. They now believe he's got an arrest record, including drunken assaults, stretching through at least 6 other states. And they discovered they might not even know his real name.
Records from the Louisville Police Department on a prior arrest indicated his last name is De La Rosa. There's, a dozen different aliases that he may be using at this time.
Then police found witnesses who told them about a rant cruise went on at this bar just days before the murder.
Muchas gracias, amigo. Salud.
He told a bartender and anyone within earshot that someone had stolen his prescription pain pills and some cash.
Go get it for me, because I'll be waiting here until all night.
And cops had heard from Doug Ham about a disturbing conversation he'd had with Cruz.
Knocked on my door, in mid-afternoon, asked me if I'd seen anybody go back to his apartment. And I said, no, I hadn't seen anybody. And you could tell he was drunk then. He said, well, if I ever catch who was back there in my apartment, someone will smash her face in.
The pieces of this puzzle came together into one conclusion for police.
Mr. Miller was obviously at Mr. Cruz's apartment. For what reasons, who knows? And an altercation did occur. Now, what prompted or what sparked it, we don't know.
Tell me what it is.
But the end result was that Mr. Miller was beaten to death with a bedpost, and we believe by Mr. Cruz.
Prosecutors charge Raul Cruz with murder. Although word spread that he's run back to Mexico, detectives aren't buying it.
It'd be very easy for Mr. Cruz to move from track to track throughout the United States and change his name. My gut feeling is he needs to make money. He can't make any money in Mexico. I believe he's here in the United States still at a small horse track under an assumed name.
Cruz is clean-cut and polite, especially to women, except for when he drinks too much. He's partial to Bud Light and speaks English very well. If you've seen Raul Cruz, please call our hotline right now at 1-800-CRIME-TV. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Cruz is wanted for more than just this murder. Why else would he keep moving from track to track and changing his name at every stop? As you heard, cops believe Cruz is still in this country, using the world of horse racing as a cover, trying to hide in the shadows. But now, our white-hot spotlight is shining right on him. So let's grab him right out of the gate tonight.
Tonight, the manhunt is on for convicted sex offender Herman Carroll, accused drug dealer Harold Dean Thompson, accused killers Bernie Figueroa, welder Morente DeBon, Gifton Michael Cousins, and Raul Cruz. And for the man who abducted and attacked 8-year-old Jennifer Schuett in August 1990.
As our journey for justice continues on our 23rd season, we really hope you're right here riding with us the whole way. Stay safe, stay strong, and never forget, you really do make a difference.